1:31.
All right, now.
It's 1:31 p.m. So I'm going to call to order the July 13, 2026 meeting of the Board of Equalization for Albemarle County. We'll start with the roll call. If you just let it, we could start with Mr. Naughton, who's appearing by video conference.
Yeah, this is Jim Naughton. I'm present via video conference.
Any trouble hearing or seeing what's happening, Mr. Naughton?
I do not.
Thank you.
Frank Friedman, present. David Mitchell, present.
Evan Mayo, present.
Dave Norfolk, present.
All right, so we have a quorum, and we'll now move to review of the minutes from the June 15th, 2026 meeting. Everyone have a copy of those and had an opportunity to review them for accuracy? Yeah. Okay, is there a motion with respect to those minutes?
I move we accept the minutes as presented for the June 15th, 2026 meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Norford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Friedman. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Mr. Naughton, and I will abstain. So, Mr. Naughton, can I just verify, where were you casting your vote there?
Oh, yes, I'm in favor of adopting the minutes. I said aye. Sorry if that didn't come through.
That's all right. It was just a bit delayed.
Sure.
So I think we have 4 votes for, and I will abstain since I wasn't at the meeting. So those are approved. We'll next move to, any new business? Otherwise, we can move to the first hearing. Okay. The first hearing is, hearing number 2, set for 1:30. It's application number 73, property owned by Judy Esau, property ID 19255.
No, that's
Excuse me. Yes, my ignorance is showing from last time. So hearing number 2 is application number 84, property owned by SJB Ventures LLC, property ID 10718. And we've been provided an email exchange between Mr. Lynch and Mr. Seth Burrell, Dr. Seth Burrell, regarding a request. Dr. Burrell is unable to attend the session on 7/13 for work commitments and a family medical matter. Asks us to reschedule the request to a date that is outside of work hours, and to propose dates or times. And then a response by Mr. Lynch explaining that he was unable to reschedule the meeting without the board deciding to do so. Explaining also that the board's schedule is only set during work hours, that there's no policy to permit virtual attendance per the rules of procedure. And I think that the question is to the board today as to whether we want to meet this request for rescheduling the meeting as opposed to any date, and then if so, to outside work hours. And then also, I think there's a virtual attendance option. So is there discussion on that point?
Could we hear from you, Peter? I mean, this is probably not the first time you've had a request like this. How are these requests generally handled?
So typically they don't necessarily come this late before the hearing. We also had a request from Mr. Vaughn, who's the 3rd hearing today. I believe it's the 3rd hearing. And this was like a month ago. He found out that he had to leave the country for work and wouldn't be back until the middle of August. So I let him know that, while there's one meeting after that at the end of August, everything has to be decided by the beginning of September by the board. And that, of course, we don't know because that was the second time he's rescheduled because of work. So I let him know that, it's quite possible he would reschedule to the end of August. We bring you all back for just him to be there, and then he would be unavailable again. So he agreed. I said, the board can look at the written documentation we've provided and they can make a decision. And he, in writing, he responded and said, that's fine for him. Now, Dr. Burrow has not responded to my email as of yet. So I don't know. And of course, we didn't really have a lot of time to go back and forth.
Is Dr. Burrow, is this the first time he's asked to reschedule?
This is the first time he's asked to reschedule. This is the first time we've scheduled him because it's been difficult setting up, you know, we weren't able to do an inspection and kind of figuring out what to do with the property kind of pushed to the end of the calendar anyway.
Do we have another meeting scheduled after this?
You have meetings.
I know we've reserved dates, but are we going to use any of those
We don't
dates?
have any of those actually scheduled. We don't have any hearings after today. The last 5 were scheduled for today. And as you know, because you guys chose the times, they're all times during the day. They end at 5 o'clock. And your rules of procedure do not allow applicants to appear in virtually.
So I think the answer to the question of whether he can have a virtual meeting is pretty clear. I mean, I think that's a straight no. So it's just a matter of whether we want to reschedule it to the end of August or not. Is that really the crux of what we're at right now?
I think that's right.
He did not indicate what dates he would or would not be available.
Yeah, but we have to use the dates we've advertised.
You do. Now
So-
you have dates on Thursday and Friday of this week and dates in let's see, this is which are, yes, the
middle 3 right next dates.
thank you. July 16th, 17th, and August 20th. You have 3 dates left. So,
Would you say 16th and 17th?
correct.
That's this week.
That's this Thursday and Friday.
And then what's the
August
last one?
20th?
August 20th.
Correct. And all 3 of those are from 1 to 5 p.m.
I guess the key question to me is there anything that we would miss from, or is there any indication on the face of the application that would cause us to think that the in-person participation was required? Because I think we have like roughly 15 pages of single-spaced argument and analysis there. It seems like enough to decide based on the written submissions. Thinking also of just the time that's getting in, it was 9:30 last night. I know things come up, but this has been set for quite some time.
Would the applicant have to agree to have us decide based on the written submission, or can we just do it?
My view is we can decide based on the submission, and it's a decision not to appear with notice. So
If we do that, does that create any legal issues that the applicant would then pursue?
Applicants always have the ability to appeal their assessment to the circuit court. And that doesn't matter if the board meets or not, or what they decide. It's always outside, it's another level. That would be, as far as I know, that would be what the applicant could do. As to something, you know, in relation to the board, I'm unaware of anything that they could.
Yeah, I mean, the applicants are permitted to submit a written argument and not, I think we've had before people show up and not say anything and just say everything I've got to say is in the submission. So I would see it as similar to that.
Yeah, I would feel.
We're able to go ahead and decide.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been great if he sort of as you mentioned, one of the other applicants did, if he had sort of given us permission to do that, I think it would be easy to move forward. I'm a little cautious that, about interpreting no response as a response that allows us to look at the written submission.
Yeah, I mean, if no one had showed up with no notice, we would certainly be entitled to decide it, right? In this case, someone has showed up and said that he's not going to show up, 16 hours at a time or whatever it is. I would just think also about like, how are we gonna treat this moving into the future? Rescheduling these is difficult, I think difficult also for the staff, but also for
Right.
all of us, like, yes, we observe those times, but having gaps in the schedule or it's just an endeavor.
Yeah, so I think that's a very, I think, good way to look at it. So if we had sort of our own operating procedure where it's something along the lines of, well, listen, if you only give us less than 48 hours notice, we can't really do anything other than look at what you've already submitted. I think that's a reasonable sort of operational approach to handle these, and that's something we could do consistently. And that would certainly streamline and be fair to everybody going forward.
Yeah, I guess I would note also that I think the assessor's office does a very good job of shuffling these around in response to the requests from the applicants. I can't think of a time when someone made a request timely to move it, that it wasn't able to be accommodated.
Okay, yeah. I'm on board now. I agree. I think you've persuaded me. I'm comfortable with looking at what's submitted.
Okay, then, so I think we should have a motion on the request submitted by email through Mr. Lynch as to whether or not to reschedule this. And I can move to deny the request and to evaluate the application based on the submittal that came in. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Norford. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. We will evaluate application number 84, property ID 10718. And there's not a submittal from, or there's not a period of argument or explanation from the attendee who's not here, the non-attendee, Dr. Pearl. So do we want to take any time to review the materials submitted, or should we proceed with staff's rebuttal argument or response argument? I would suggest this. Why don't we take 3 or 5 minutes to review the materials? That way the applicant will, if reviewing this, feel that they got a demonstrated opportunity for us to evaluate the arguments. And then we can have the staff's response.
And we have everything that you gave us over the weekend to review. Nothing's different.
But nothing's different.
So what we looked at.
Correct.
Okay.
I'd be glad to ask questions.
We wouldn't normally during the portion where the applicant is discussing, so my suggestion would be that we hold those till the end in the way that we normally do, just try to hew to the process as close as we can. Anybody have, need more time to review the provided materials?
I'm good, ready to proceed.
Mr. Dunn, I can't see your face. We're looking at the database structure. Are you prepared to proceed?
Yes, I am prepared.
Very good. So then I think we'll have a presentation from the assessor's office, please, and then we can ask questions afterwards.
You'd like to swear us in?
Yes, thank you. Anyone who's going to be giving testimony today, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony, both oral and documentary, which you're about to give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you for that reminder.
So I actually don't really want to present a lot today. I mean, I certainly can go by the record, just like you're doing for Dr. Burrow. I think it's pretty clear that I disagree with just about everything he said in his initial and follow-up messages. However, we will answer any questions that you have. Tricia is the one who did the review, kind of base level reviews of the appraiser. So she can answer questions or I can answer questions as you like. I do have one statement though, that this property, it's just the fact that it's in Raintree, which is an older established neighborhood. This is obviously a lot that was kind of a spot lot that was left over, that was built a newer, much superior home to the rest. It doesn't fit in perfectly with the style and grade and size of the neighborhood. So it makes it a little complicated, but I think our model handles that just fine.
A substantial amount of what he's presented has to do with whether or not the county can require an interior inspection. Can we just knock that one out first?
Again, so I'm not going to do a review. So if we're talking about the different levels, so the first one is the review request. And then there's the Board of Equalization appeal. So your rules allow someone to appeal without requiring an internal inspection. I will not allow a review to take place, a formal review without an internal inspection.
Okay, so they don't have to have a review before they can appeal.
Correct.
Okay,
They can go right to appeal to you guys.
okay, that clears that up. One of the other questions I had was he had a whole list of things on why the home was less valuable, including no access to natural gas. Does that usually factor into
Well,
to your?
it would if his was the only house in the neighborhood that didn't have it. And I'm not sure how we can measure that.
That's what I'm asking.
But still, it would only matter if the neighborhood had it and he did. But the majority of the calibration of the values is at the neighborhood level. So every economic or social factor that affects his neighborhood would be included in the value as the neighborhood is adjusted. So that would have to do with where he's questioning the quality of the schools, where he's talking about
Fort County school range. Now, this is the second time that's come up.
yeah, I was surprised. It has come up twice.
Who ranks the schools and says one's better than the other?
I haven't seen those rankings that indicate that it's not good schools. But again, no matter what the rankings of the schools are, the entire neighborhood is assessed based on the same.
Right, and then I have one other question, which is limited usable flat land and slope lot constraints, but you've already deducted 10%, correct?
Correct.
Part of it in the floodplain?
Well, I can look at that.
There's a blue floodplain?
That's critical slope. It's not floodplain.
Not floodplain?
Correct. It's just the slope in the back.
Slope?
The slope, yes. It's the managed slope. What the county defines as managed critical slope.
Which is not the most critical slope.
Correct. Not the red, which is the one.
You can work in it.
Yeah.
With an engineering plan. But be extra careful about grading. but you can pull in.
And then in terms of the other items, like the original kitchen and so on, that's already reflected in the condition of the property, which is noted as average, correct? So,
That's correct.
Plus, you got 15-year age on it, and you deducted for that too, right?
Yes.
15%, I mean.
Oh, yes. So the depreciation basically in the value is based on the age of the property and it being in average condition. So that's what the 15% is based on.
and I think we've talked about this before, but the average condition means it's for a house that's 20 years old and hasn't really had any updates. Average is about where it will end up in terms of condition. Correct?
That is correct.
Where is the neighborhood? Still and font, that's fine, thank you. Just your comps, you've got two in Raintree, I get that there weren't a lot of sales. So what, I know where the Morrow is. What's
Fontana
and then still
and Still Meadow.
okay.
On the owner comps, the last two, 4 and 5 were in 26, so they can't be counted, correct?
That is correct. And I do want to point out that as you see from the dates of the response, he's been aware of all of this information since March, I think was the date of my response. March 13th. That's from him. That's my response. It's in here. Yeah, I'm sorry. That is my response, March 13th. Which is exactly 3 months ago.
So I'm not seeing anything in the application that would warrant a change in the assessment.
Not either.
I'm not either.
Yeah, like, sounds like of the list that he provided, we think that the comps are mostly not capable of being used or not very probative. And or the model solves for things that he's pointing out as not being properly considered or actually being considered at the proper weight under the model. I would just note also that I think the language around tyranny, coercion, duress is foolish and rude. Should not be encouraged as part of this process. That the applicants can choose whatever persuasive technique they want, but I find it very unpersuasive.
When I look at it, the comparables are so much smaller in size than this property. I mean, in general, it's 1,200 square feet, 1,300 square feet larger. If you just took the 1,300 square feet, multiplied out by the $156 per square foot, you get the difference between the assessed value of his comps and his. I mean, it almost works out exactly. So there's nothing there that persuades me that the assessment is off.
I would note also that to the extent that the condition or grade were it's not really clear from the application as to whether those are contested, but if they were, the inability to take the interior inspection results, is part of that process. I think it makes it hard to conclude that those, where the assessor has set them is wrong. Presuming as we must, that the assessor's, work is correct, or that the value is correct, without the benefit of the actual interior inspection or photos. It's difficult to overcome that presumption in my mind.
Evan, I think in one of his many letters, he actually says he's not contesting the
Yeah,
Yeah, he's got
value
another
decisions.
right.
So he's okay with the grade and condition. I think he goes on and says that in one of his letters.
yeah, he did, he didn't contest the condition.
Okay.
I mean, this comes down to the comps to use. And looking at the house fully built earlier on a, an orphan lot. I think the assessor did the right thing to look just slightly outside of the neighborhoods, because you have to get comparable for that building. And the older parts of Braintree are just not. And it's a pretty short distance between these. I just Googled.
So we're just trying to get the present on the, everything else is fine, it's just not showing on the screens.
Okay, no problem.
Can you guys hear me okay? I just heard your voices again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, oh, were you not able to hear Mr. Naughton?
I went quiet there for about 4 minutes or so. The video has, I have no video. I previously had the video, you guys, so that went away. And the sound went away too, but now I have the county of Albemarle symbol and I have the voice back. So I can hear you.
Technology.
Okay, and the video is back as well now.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right, thank you. I thought you could still hear us. I thought we just couldn't see it on the screens. Mr. Mayo, how would you like to handle it? I'm assuming he didn't hear pretty much anything the applicant or most of what the applicant said.
So I would invite the applicant to, if you like, give another presentation of the same kind to ensure that Mr. Naughton was able to hear you. If you feel like the presentation that you gave was consistent with the written documents, you could also stand on the documents, whatever you'd like to do to be able to, prepare.
In the interest of time, I think, in fact, if there's 4 people here, I think we can waive that reading.
Okay, I appreciate your consideration here. So
Basically, I'll just say is my argument is to look at the photos.
Yeah.
And. Very good.
okay, thank you. So I think we'll hear from staff now, please.
So. One, two, that's when I found that this was down. The. Investments. So. If I zoom out, they would show very well, but basically, I think what we will agree that what this comes down to is the adjustment for the golf course that we make to the land value. We have a 1.5 adjustment for the properties that are located right here, the closest to this hole. And the sale that he referenced over here, 1526, we, instead of a 1.5, it's a 1.3 adjustment, which kind of goes down as you move further away from the golf course itself. And so we agree otherwise that, I believe everything else on the property is described correctly. That, these are pretty straightforward. The cottages, they vary a little bit and how much area is finished upstairs and stuff like that. But I believe we have this property described correctly. It comes down to this question of the 1.5 adjustment on the subject property and the 1.3 adjustment on the sale.
What if you put 1.3 on the subject? I mean, on the subject.
Yeah. You mean what value would it be?
Something would be right at the other one.
Oh, I'm not in the first one. Sorry. Yes, please. So the land value would get to the right spot. Let's go over, I think. Land value would go to 2067 from 238.5, and the total value would go to 813.
They should build scenario-based modeling into this tool, so you don't have to change it to observe the facts. It's frustrating. Is there a range of values that you contemplate applying to golf course lots like this, like 1.3, 1.5? What's the multiplier sort of range?
It appeared, because this is right on the hole, this would be the highest, the 1.5. I don't know what all the adjustments are. that we currently have on them, but I would assume that that would be the highest. I can. The problem is you have to identify the ones that are the cottages and not in the main, in the golf course main.
But certainly they're all over one, right? Because
Correct.
this is a plus factor.
It's a plus factor. That is correct.
We think the top end is 1.5. I guess well, shall we, okay, is there anything further that you'd like to say, Peter? Otherwise, I'm gonna invite, the rebuttal and then maybe ask a couple questions.
I do not have any.
Okay, awesome, thank you. You have up to 3 minutes for rebuttal.
No, we concur. Because this is not it's not a difference between the two that are definitely by that.
Okay, thank you. So I guess my thought on it is, the pictures provided by the applicant, does the assessor's office agree that these are, the pictures taken from the right spot? I mean, is there any dispute that this is the view from the backyard? Hopefully the assessor's office staff who visited it could confirm.
Yes, that looks like it for the subject for 1454 Bremerton.
Okay.
Looks familiar from our site visit.
Okay. So my perspective on it is that this is probably not the very best golf course view that one could buy or expect to receive. It is a pretty view, but there's other houses visible. Or oh, that's 1526. So I would say that the actual golf course is somewhat obscured by the foliage. The topography of the land doesn't make it one of the sort of spectacular look down golf course views. And to me, I think 1.5, the very top that we would apply to any golf course backed up lot just seems too high.
No, Mr. Mayor, I do want to make it clear that we're just talking about within the cottages.
Right.
The golf courses, all the properties that are in the regular Glenmore neighborhood on the golf course are adjusted differently. They're not given a percentage adjustment. They're assessed at a higher land rate that and I can just so you have all the information.
Sure. So you've effectively solved that plus factor two different ways and two different little sub-neighborhoods.
So the base rate in golf appears to be 300,000. Base rate in 225, so $75,000, which is 75 of 225,000.
To the third.
Exactly third, yes.
Mr. Gillespie, do you play golf?
I do.
You ever get any golf balls in your backyard?
Be honest, no, because it's hit trees.
I got one more
I
question.
we did find one this week.
When you bought this in 2024, was it advertised with golf course access or golf course views?
It definitely said on the golf course.
Just seems to me, and I think I'm going along with Evan here. The 1.5 versus the 1.3. I am not persuaded that the views are that different. It's a $30,000 impact on the assessment. I don't see why they would not both be 1.3. They're very similar, and that would bring the assessment down to what you said, Peter, around 813, which is almost exactly the assessment of comparable number 2. That seems to me to be the fairest assessment.
And I agree with that. And particularly, like, I found not only the applicant's pictures, but also, page 6 that the assessor's office put together showing comparable number 2 in the subject and the view the location on the map. They're very similar. So I completely agree with Mr. Friedman on the assessment.
I agree on in that. If 1.5 is the highest multiplier for golf course views, this can't be the best view of the golf course. There is some golf course access, but not the best, so I think we need.
I'll make a motion then. You ready for that, Evan?
Yes.
To roll back the adjustment to 1.3 on the subject property. And then whatever the assessment is, after that adjustment would be the assessment that we would support.
813,000 even.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Mr. Mitchell, you
No, I mean, yes, sorry.
All right, Mr.
I
Mitchell.
have to talk, I know.
Vote for.
You're asking me to write and talk. at the same time.
So hearing no nays and Mr. Mitchell's vote having been clarified as aye, the motion passes unanimously and the applicant's assessment will be adjusted to $813,000. Even.
What's that get the land to? So I'll fully calculate that.
It's 206,700.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Thank you. Short break. You certainly can. We'll take a short break. I think we can leave the meeting running.
So now are we going ahead with Luong? Or are we gonna do that
Yes.
one just based on the materials we have?
That is correct.
Okay.
There we go.
I think we're prepared to continue then with application number 61, property owned by Sean Q and Jessica Van Pham Vuong, property ID 55280. I understand that there's been correspondence between the applicant and the assessor's office during which a rescheduling was discussed, but the applicant is ultimately elected to move forward based on the written submission.
That is correct.
Anyone will wish to take a few minutes to review the written submission before we hear from the staff. This one was much less voluminous. Don't require any extra time to review it just because of the length. Would anyone like a few minutes to review?
I don't need any time. I'm all set to proceed.
Okay, hearing none, I would invite the assessor's office, and shall I swear you in if you made it testimony today? You just raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony, both oral and documentary, which you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. Okay, ready when you are.
So again, I think the written submission for us also states pretty much everything. This is a pretty straightforward assessment. It's a townhouse in a townhouse neighborhood. One of the things you guys the board looks at is the grade. Sometimes that is a possible thing that might need to be adjusted, or at least that's been our experience this year. In this case, the entire townhouse neighborhood is B- and B graded homes. And the subject is a B-. It's very unlikely that it would be less than the rest of the neighborhood. So everything else was inspected by the appraiser, 80, and I believe is completely accurate. And therefore, I believe the value is well supported. And unless Katie has anything kind of outside of the record to add. Otherwise, she'll just be able to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, that's.
Let's do the condition, information provided, settlement cracks, ceiling stain, that makes sense to me that wouldn't, independently rise to the level of a change in condition. I also find persuasive the assessor's office's explanation that the owner provided comparables are not townhome in units. I remember shopping for a townhome and this was like the one big distinction they make is between interior units and exterior units.
Yep.
So it would not make sense to me to use the interior units as a comparable source of comparables. It seems to me the assessor's office's assessment is well supported on the grounds that the applicant has criticized. Welcome other thoughts.
I have a question, for the assessor. He's saying that, or they're saying that water pools behind is that something I mean, that would be like the homeowners association is supposed to take care of that, right? How do you deal with that?
Well, first of all, how big a problem is it?
Well, I don't know. I'm just asking how,
And-
you know.
Yeah,
if
so.
the chronic problem with saying mosquitoes and so forth, then wouldn't that be, somebody would have to fix that? That's not just something you say, oh, well, that's just the way it is.
Yes, I agree. Especially in a subdivision or in a townhouse neighborhood like this, the homeowners association would have to fix those kinds of issues.
That's what I'm
If
saying.
that's what you're asking.
So you wouldn't normally devalue the property because of that, because
Is agreed.
No, I mean, if the property itself had
Maybe I should know.
a drainage problem, we would adjust for a drainage problem in the land value.
Optometry shows a drain.
Yeah, okay. Let me bring this up. Let me catch up. Yeah, I should have done this.
so we're saying the end units are less valuable than the interior units.
No, they're more valuable.
Or they don't think it's 10%.
Should be.
Also. Okay, so it's plus, I think it's over plus or minus on that.
Yes, plus.
Yes, it's a.
So.
I would say more than.
You're talking about is this the drain down here?
Well, he's got it in,
Yes.
his picture is in the backyard,
That's the front.
right in there.
Right.
I'm good.
That's plenty.
Yeah, you had no adjustment on the land and what we're looking at here is in the corner isn't even on the property, it's on the common area
That's a common area.
for the homeowners association.
I make a motion, we affirm the assessor's value at 41.
Good. Is there a second?
441, 100.
Is there a second for Mr. Norford's motion?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously to affirm the assessment for application number 61, property ID 55280. And we have about a half hour until the next applicant.
That is correct. And he might be here a little early and we can certainly make sure he's not, sometimes they're waiting outside. So it might be a little too early for that. I'm gonna pause the recording.
So we've got application number 63 and 64, properties owned by Philip A. and Ann D. Marks. Property IDs 17614 and 17693. Are you Mr. Marks?
Yes, I am.
So we can take these one at a time, or if there are arguments that you think are sort of consistent between the properties, or if you wish to argue them together, we can also do that. Do you have a preference?
There. Similarities and differences. The first one won't take very long, I don't think.
Okay, very good. So you'll have up to 10 minutes to present your case and a 7-minute response period, and then up to 3 minutes for rebuttal. And we would invite, whatever you think is going to be persuasive, but what tends to be the most compelling to us is data-driven analysis. Or pointing out mistakes of fact in the assessor's report or the assessor's data model. We are empowered to take action on those things. We're not as empowered to take action on there's a power line out my front yard, or sure, this just went up too much versus last year.
It did go up too much, but I understand what you said.
Yes.
I appreciate it. I understand your situation because I don't think you ever talked to anybody here that's completely happy. They come in here.
Only if they're selling.
Yeah, I've been in the car business in Charlottesville for almost 50 years.
Can I swear you in real quick? I think I forgot. So yes, and Lewis as well. If you just raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony, both oral and documentary, which you're about to give, will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please go.
How we got here was essentially, I've owned the property that we're talking about now for probably over 40 years. We lived in it all that time. It's not in great shape. I understand how they grade this, but the fact alone that they had to go several years back even to find anything in that category to use as a comparable shows that the data that the county is using is not really all that accurate. It's what they've got, and I understand how they do it, and I understand the formula that they use, and I've got a better understanding of it now than I had before. But there seems to be no real C-1 houses in that area. And what Mr. Lynch, I think, said in his letter was that I'm basing my judgment on the price of the assessment on the houses, the improvements rather than the property, because the road consists of mine being the smallest property on there, up to 50 acres right across the street from me. So none of the acreage makes any sense. So the problem was that I encountered, I've heard all things about the county raising this and this and this going up this percent, 6%, 9%. When I got my assessment, the property had gone, the home alone had gone up 28%. I said, that seemed like an awful lot. So I looked at every other house for a mile down my road. Nothing had gone up 28%. There's just no other house on the road. And I own one of those houses on the road. Nothing else had gone up 28%. And I know you say that's not a basis for it, but that's what caught my attention first. They're showing something like a 63% increase over 4 years for my house, and that's double what anything else on the road is. So since this is an equalization, it seems to me for equality purposes, I don't know why my house goes up twice what other houses have gone up in the area. And then it was explained to me by Mr. Lynch on comparing it to other houses that the grade quality of the construction has a lot to do with it too. So apparently a C-1 goes up at a higher rate than an A+. I don't know why that is. I'm sure they have some data, but when they showed me comparables in neighborhood sales or in other houses of that type around here, they really couldn't find any. In fact, some of the sales went back to, I think, 2000. What were we doing here? Sale price, sale date, 20 for one of the comparables, and 97 on one of their comparable number 3. That sale goes back to 1997. Now I don't know the basis for the comparison is based on their assessed value or what the house actually sold for. But there's such a discrepancy in looking at just their examples and my examples, differences between what a house sold for and how it was then assessed within the same year. And I've always been under the impression that you're required to assess by fair market value, but yet there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 under neighborhood sales that when the assessment, the appraised value was lower than the selling price within the same year by substantial amounts on some. Looking at the percentages, mine went up 28% for the house. Most of the houses on my road went up 15%. You say that's probably not anything to consider, but if I go by, I don't know what else to go by other than the fact that my house is graded wrong probably, but that still doesn't qualify for why it goes up so much. I'm looking at the quality guides that you have on the website. And I'm looking at C and D. And I see that there's 8-foot ceiling. My upstairs in that house is 7.5 foot. I have no heat at all upstairs, never had any. We lived in that house almost 40 years, never had any heat. Somebody took a 1-story house, put a shed dormer on the back 50 years ago, never put heat in the upstairs. So there is no heat in the upstairs, there's no air conditioning anywhere in the house. We have all the categories that D and D plus say. We have vinyl floor in the kitchen, we have no central AC, we have no heat upstairs, which isn't even on any of those. And they talk about 2 to 3 feet of bathroom vanity. We don't even have that. So I'm not sure how the grading came into being, but I believe that it should be downgraded. And I understand from talking to Mr. Lynch on the other house particularly, that being an A minus means that your house went up more last year than being an A plus or an A. I don't have the chart that shows that. I've looked really hard. I went down to this building to find that information. I also know that the area I live in, they keep telling me that's because the area we live in has a higher percentage because it's south of US 250. So those are all data points that you guys use to determine the value. But if you can't find but maybe one C minus house in the whole area, and you have to go back 10, 12 years to show me comparable sales, I don't think the data is that good that you can come up with the data that shows what that house is worth. They always ask me, would you sell it for that on both houses? Yeah, that's not the point. It shouldn't be. Sure, I'd sell it for what they've assessed this one for. You're over by well over $100,000. I did. I don't understand one thing. Maybe you can help me with it. They've shown an outbuilding of $10,400. I don't know what that means, but I also have a tree that fell on one of those outbuildings, and I have a roof caving in on one of the other outbuildings. They said they did a site visit that I didn't allow them in the house. And that's true, because the last time somebody came in the house, they took our downstairs bathroom and called it a full bath when it wasn't. So I'm kind of shy about doing that anymore. So there are 2 oil tanks in the ground that have been there over 40 years, have to be removed for the house to be sold, is what I've been told by every realtor I've talked with. And the outbuilding has the collapsing roof over it. So I don't see any comparables that are really comparables. I don't see any up-to-date comparables. I don't see anything in my building grade guide that's comparable to this. And I just wanted to point out that if they'd actually done a site visit rather than using the satellite function on the GIS, they would have seen a collapsed roof here. They would have seen a tree on this building here. They might have seen a lot more than just printing out the bird's eye view. So I think it's misclassified. I think the condition is graded improperly. And only thing I can tell you is that I don't see a grade in your grade guide that considers 7.5 foot ceilings and no heat. So you may not have the ability to determine the value based on the anomalies in our house, but it certainly doesn't comply with the rating they're giving. So I don't have much more to tell you on that house. I just think that we've gone up. I look at a second. It's gone up over the years. And they give me a nice little chart like that, which I'm sure you have too. Showing the increase. Yeah, I mean, if even in the the comparables that the county's doing, I go by square footage, dollar per square foot. I should be much lower. And I'm not. And don't know what else I can tell you other than the fact that, you know, I've got a basically a 1.5 story house that doesn't have any heat, no air conditioning. And quality materials is from the 40s. The basement is actually a bomb shelter, not a fallout shelter, but a bomb shelter, no doors. And I just think it's overclassified. I don't, Mr. Lynch can probably tell me, did somebody actually visit the house or did they just use the aerial photography from it to determine that it's in excellent condition or average condition or whatever it says? But I got 7.5 foot ceilings, I got no heat at all upstairs, I got vinyl floors in the kitchen and the bath, no central AC, no vanities to speak of. And I just think it's being assessed at a whole lot more than the house is ever worth. We spent 30 plus years trying to get out of that house. And now I've been told because of the 2 oil tanks, I can't even sell it until those are removed and remediated. So I don't know if that's considered in the value of a house or not, what the liabilities are in terms of having oil tanks in the ground. So I'll leave that as my only argument is that I think we're been graded wrong, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
So, my appraiser, who is not here today, is on vacation this week. But he didn't inspect the property anyway, so I didn't think it was important to actually have him here. He did not do an exterior inspection. It was clear from the interaction with Mr. Marks that he was not welcome on the parcel on the property. So, so we did our review from aerial photography. In our write-up, we provide the 3 comparables that Mr. Marks provides for this house. They are not sales from 2025 either. They're one sold in 2003 and 2023 is the closest in 2020. We provided on purpose several recent sales from 2025, well, 3 of them, but we also provided some C-1 comparables that are 1.5 story like the subject, just to provide equity comps. So we provided those just to compare the assessment on those 2 to the assessment on the subject property. The first 3 were provided as sales, as recent sales, and they're to give that support, but the other 2 are only to give equity support. The things that Mr. Marks is talking about would be easily confirmed and dealt with an inspection, but that was not allowed. So we're not able to confirm any of that information about the interior of the home. And I think it sounds like it's the basis of his arguments. So I think we're kind of stuck when it comes to that. I don't have anything to offer unless you have.
No question from me at this time. I circle back. Is there any rebuttal?
All I'd like to say is that where this house is situated, it is the setbacks from US 250 and from Morgantown Road cross in the kitchen. So you can well imagine that standing on the road and within the right of way, you can get a pretty good idea of looking at the house without actually having to be in the house to see what the condition of it is. It's just right there for anyone to see. I've lived in there for 38 years or so. And if they can't make an assessment as to the condition or the quality of the construction by walking by the house or looking, then where did the classification come from in the first place? As far as I know, it's been that way for 38 years. But if I look at your guidelines, it fits with D much better than it fits with C. And from what I understand from talking to Mr. Lynch, the fact that it's a C- means that it went up more in value than if it'd been a C+. None of that really makes any sense to a layperson trying to figure this out. And I know you have charts, but when there's only this few C- or C+ to go by, how can you make a generalization that a C- has to be appraised at this much higher than any other, than a C plus or an A. As we're talking about 28% versus 15 versus 19 versus 20. That's a lot. I'm double some of the other houses on the road that are, that are Bs, things like that. But that's explained as being a different quality of construction. And I just don't, your metrics are questionable. And I don't know if I can question it or not. I can talk about the condition, and that's a variable we can look at and see. But if you only have two houses you can show me of the similar quality, not even two, then I don't see how you can make the generalization that all houses in that build quality have gone up 28% versus the quality level above that gone up 15. I'm, this is a board of equalization. I suppose that means that things are supposed to be equitable, and there's no equity that I can see in the way that's determined.
Mr. Mayor, pretty much every conversation I have with Mr. Marks, what I always have to get over is that when he's talking about the C minus went up more than something, or the A minus went up more than an A plus, or whatever it is, he's only talking about percentage changes. We are assessing, typically the higher grades are more valuable than the lower grades. But what he's talking about is just a change in 1 year for 1 year to the next. From his experience of his property at C minus and A minus.
Is that what you're referring to there, just to clarify? You're saying C minus one went up 28% or some amount that you're
It
content.
started with the second property. That one went up only 27%. And I asked why my next door neighbor's house, which is 3 times the square footage, only went up half of that. And I was told that's because the A plus went up less of a percentage according to your charts than the B minus. Or the A minus. A minus went up double what the A plus did. That just doesn't make any sense, because the house on the other side of my other house is considered the same category as mine, but it's a well-known builder at Wintergreen who built his own house there, and I know what the quality of it is, and it's rated the same quality as mine, and it went up the same. But the more expensive house that just sold, it was completely renovated, went up half. So,
But do you understand, this is an interlinked data model with like, I think more than 100 variables. And you're talking about one there saying, well, these are geographically connected. They're in close geographic proximity. So the percentage change should always stay tight. But when you might move one up because you're moving something else down, or you might move one up because you realized you were actually under assessing in previous years. Does that make sense?
it does, except that I also charted on the sales that percent, the local sales, how many of them actually were assessed at thousands less than what they just sold for in the same year. So that's a question that I have when you're using these models and you're building them from apparently firm data of sales or actual what do you call it, fair market value. I don't see how a house that sells for $1 million should then be assessed at 900 in the same year. So your models go out, because I don't know what numbers you're actually using. Are you using the selling price? Are you using the assessment made 6 months after the house just sold? There's the chart that was sent to me. Let's see if I can find it.
The assessed to sales ratio chart.
Well, this is the neighborhood sales. That's what I'm looking at. And if I go by, I don't know how many there are right now.
Page 3.
17.
17, page 3.
17. We go starting at top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 were appraised at less than their selling price in the year they were sold. 4 were actually appraised higher. So I don't know what that does for evaluating my house, if that goes into the matrix of out how the house is valued when you're not even consistent with a selling price being a fair market value, or what you're basing it on. Are you basing it on the appraisal of the house? Are you basing it on what it actually sold for when you're comparing it to other houses in the area?
I have a question.
If I could just jump in for a second, I feel like we're moving a little bit off topic. So as the Board of Equalization, what we are able to do is look at the inputs from your property that go into the valuation model and decide whether they're being reflected fairly. And really, when we say fairly, it's on the same basis as every other property in the county. So there's always going to be deviations above and below when you use a model like this. And there's always going to be difficulty understanding how the model works when it has more than 100 inputs. And so I think, you know, if we just refocus a little bit and kind of think about the things in your property that aren't reflected correctly. So one thing that I have a question for Mr. Lynch on is, you know, do we know how much of the gross living area of this subject property is on the second floor? And can you sort of inform the board how you typically handle situations where there's no HVAC on a floor? So in the past, we've had sunrooms that we've assessed differently from normal square footage. And I don't know if that's what we would also do with finished areas that don't have HVAC.
Okay, so we have 540 square feet on the second floor in our sketch. And the answer to your second question about how to handle no AC, I mean, except for the situation where we have a sunroom, I'm trying to remember a situation where we would have a second floor with allegedly no heat.
Trying to recall a situation like that as well.
We have a.
The answer would be functional.
Definitely functional.
Okay, and that's what we do with sunrooms, right? We do a functional adjustment for a sunroom.
Right.
Let me get this clear. Your heating system is what?
Heating system is an oil-fired boiler with cast iron radiators in the ground floor, except the sun porch, which has some sort of baseboard stuff added later. There's nothing upstairs.
Electric baseboard on the sunroof.
There's in the sun, no, it's still oil, but it's a little baseboard. It's not a cast iron radiator. Something was added.
It's hooked into the same water system.
Yes, it's cycled through the same boiler, but upstairs, there's absolutely nothing. Nothing goes up there. There's nothing that goes up there,
I
literally.
mean, it'll function okay because the heat rises, but I hear you.
It-
So, and
heat
you have
rises-
no air conditioning.
Heat rises in the summertime too.
You have no air conditioning.
No air conditioning. Yeah, I put a window unit in the downstairs, but all it does is make a lot of noise and cools the living room. It doesn't do anything for the rest of the house.
And the second floor has 7.5 foot ceilings. I assume this is like a cape.
It's a shed dormer built where there was probably nothing there previously.
They shed dormered out the backside.
Shed dormered.
So you can see that. Okay.
Now, that's only for the larger of the two rooms. The other room is just a flat 7.5 foot ceiling. The other one goes from 7.5 down to probably 7. But at the tallest, it's 7.5 feet. I mean, I can, when I was re-drywalling it, I could hold it up by my hand. I can't do that with a ceiling. That's a lot of stuff. 7.5 upstairs. So you're looking at, get myself oriented here. Yeah, it's that one of the picture, the part on the left is what I call the master bedroom. It was our master bedroom. But no heat. We kept a water bed up there so we could adjust the temperature while we were sleeping by going up and down on the water bed here. It's the only way you could do it.
Our record shows no air conditioning.
I have a question for the assessor. Comparable number 2 in the assessor's comps. Is that like a perfect match? Or am I missing something?
Well, it's a B-1 home, but it's smaller.
See.
No, it's comparable to
two. See.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at comp one. Okay.
I was looking at the same side.
Okay, so yes, it's a very, very similar.
I mean, that's about as close as you can get, isn't it?
Yes.
The only differences I would mention is that there's two, and I don't know how you categorize these, they have outbuildings for both of those with values. I don't know if that's figured in the way I'm calculating the what you call your the buildings, the improvements. So I don't know if the total adds those things and what outbuilding you're counting. In my case, is that my garage where my water tank is, or is that my outbuilding that's a garden shed with no utilities and a tree that fell on it? So I really don't know what that, and there's $25,000 in outbuilding on that one on comp two, there's 10 on mine. So I don't know what that is. But either way, if I do it just by livable square footage, I'm still priced higher per square foot than what that house is.
Yeah, that was just sold for $395 in December. So that's actually a disfavorable comparison for you. It suggests that you're not assessed high enough. Their assessed sales ratio of only 0.97, 0.917.
Well, what's the condition on there? I'm sure it's on there somewhere. E, that's considered excellent, right? I'm considered average.
Is E excellent?
He is excellent, yes.
So that means there's been some renovations
Correct.
to produce
Since
that.
1900, yes.
And mine is A, and I'm arguing that that's not correct,
That's average.
right?
Average for his age.
A question for the assessor. In your conclusion on page 6. You have the statement, however, the improvement multiplier changed from 99% to 115%. And then you go on with that. Can you explain that?
Oh, absolutely. So when we are looking at this market area 132 during our reassessment analysis, we're looking at those 17 sales that took place in 2025 and trying to figure out how to get the median ratio to 100% with the lowest variability between what we call a COD. And so we have to adjust the land value, or we can adjust the land value in our or the adjustment to the improvements. So the prior adjustments to the improvements was 99%. So it was a minus 1% compared to most of the county. And the land was $175 for the home site, for the 2-acre home site. But during the reassessment, in order to get these 17 sales up to the right range, we adjusted that improvement adjustment from 99% to 115% and brought the land up a little bit to from 175 to 180. And that was mainly because there are 4 land sales included in these 17 sales. And we didn't want to bring those sales up too high at the same time as we're adjusting the improvements. So I mean, it's a give and take sometimes.
So are you saying in this market area, everybody assessment was increased
Yes.
to 115%? So when Mr. Marks talks about the 28% increase, 16%, a little more than half of that was market area wide.
Right.
And the rest was due to the particulars of his property and the comparables.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct. And as we stated on that, the top of that page 3, the average increase for the neighborhood was 15%.
You're talking total value of property and improvement.
Yes, that's what we refer to.
I mean, there's a $3 million house across the street from me on 48, so I'm not sure to make that comparable to anything. But when I did my owner's comps that you printed out for me, with just the improvements.
Mr. Mayo, do you want to hear the next one before deciding on this one, or do you want to?
What does the board think would be most helpful? I think the arguments are very highly similar. Does the applicant have a preference?
I don't care if you make a decision tomorrow. To be honest, I'm gonna get my 2 cents in on both properties. The other one is more complicated. This one is just based on condition and how the condition is, I think, been not misrepresented, but I think it's been misclassified. And I firmly believe that the method you all use for assessing values based on your metric is flawed because you can only find 2 C- houses in a whole area. to compare it to. So you tell me that you've raised all the properties, all the properties.
Mr. Mayor, I don't want to confuse the fact that we only provided two in the write-up with, so that there are only two C minus.
Yes, I understand. I think that's a misapprehension by the applicant. So what about this? What is the condition that you're asking the board to find is more appropriate?
Well, it's certainly a D rather than a C. But then you also have
So that's a grade, right?
a grade, but then you have condition where you listed it as average. It's not average. And then there's other considerations such as, you know, what do you?
What are you asking for? Not average, but what? What's the condition that you're asking us to find?
Well, below average, because I haven't found any chart that shows me what those mean. I found your chart that shows what,
Okay, but that's your burden to prove that the average condition is incorrect. You must show that there's some other condition that is, so you have to overcome that presumption. So are you asking us to find, what's the one directly below average?
I don't know, I was not able to find them. I came down here to the office to ask the question. I wasn't able to find them. I came down to ask how the percentage for my market area was derived compared to others, and I wasn't able to get that answered either.
So the grade guide, which is on our website,
I have the grade guide.
has the definition of what conditions that.
Okay. And so that would be, the one directly beneath is
Is fair.
fair. Is there a case to apply fair to this property? And did you guys consider doing so, notwithstanding the fact that you're missing a lot of the information you would have used if you'd had an interior inspection?
I would object to making a change of that type when it would be easy enough to allow access to this property and see that. And we would be happy to change condition, grade, if we saw anything that supported that. But to be able to come in here and just say, I don't agree with it, and I'm not going to allow you access to it, I object to that.
I think if you guys correct me if I'm wrong, that in the past, when this has come up, we had, in the absence of being able to go to the property and inspect, we assume what you say is right. We have to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's even stronger than I think it's, if the county's office has inspected the property, then we trust that they've accurately reflected the condition and the grade of the property. Because that's not our expertise. That's the expertise of the assessor's office. And in this case, we don't have that. And so the question is, if we don't have it because the applicant won't allow it, what should we assume? And I agree with Mr. Lynch on this point. I think if we wanted, if you would like to see the grade changed or the condition changed, I think he needs to allow the assessor's office to go look. And then have the assessor's office make that determination. I don't think we have the ability to do anything on either of those items at this point, given what's in front of us.
Mr. Lynch asked me if he could come and reassess the property and go inside the house. I said, I'd prefer you didn't go inside the house. He said, we can just do it from the outside. They didn't even do that. Did you? No.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, I don't have any evidence to convince me to lower it from average to fair. Nothing's been presented that would convince me to make that change. There are no visuals of other homes that are fair, as opposed to this one being average, or what the differences are. There's nothing compelling me other than I think it's fair, not average. But that's not good enough for me to make that change.
There's also nothing in your grade chart that accounts for a whole floor of the house.
So
not having-
you're appealing his decision.
Yeah.
And you're giving me no evidence to support your appeal other than to say, I don't agree.
You told me they would do an exterior assessment. I said, that's fine.
That's not your evidence, like,
Yeah.
he's not mustering that evidence.
There's nothing about the exterior that would change it from average to fair.
There's not. I mean, condition of the roof, condition of the gutters, the siding.
None of that's before us.
No, you haven't presented any of that.
What is the condition of the house judged by? Just the interior?
No, there's the huge volume of factors that go into it, none of which have been updated in anticipation of this appeal. Because you haven't permitted the interior inspection or presented the information that the interior inspection would have produced.
I mean, another way to put it is you have a burden of proof, and in my opinion, you haven't met it.
So what you're telling me is the fact that there's no ventilation at all in the upstairs and there's 2 oil tanks buried in the ground that have been there for 50 years has no bearing on the value of the house or the condition.
No, it can have bearing. I don't think we're taking that view. We're just saying you haven't overcome the presumption of correctness that the assessor's office enjoys under statute. It could be true, like what you're describing could be true, but is it more likely to be true than the information
If
that
he'd
provided?
done the walk around that he said he was gonna do on the exterior, he'd have found 2 oil tanks.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hypothetical scenario. It hasn't occurred, and so it can't enter. into
I was
our
told it was
decision.
going to.
Well, let me finish what I'm gonna say. Let's have a clear record. The fact that you were told that it was going to, sort of hearsay testimony, I mean, I'll take it for what it's worth. If the assessor's office wants to explain their reasoning there, they can. But B, it doesn't change the fact that today we don't have that information in front of us. Like, if the things you're describing about your house are true, I would suggest to you, you ought to really consider allowing the interior inspection, and you could benefit from, they'll muster the evidence for you. They'll take pictures and present it all at the appraisal or at the, if you were to appeal it next year.
Yeah, that would affect the assessment next year.
So on this one, I'm gonna move to affirm the assessor's figures on it. The property ID 17614. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously. We'll turn now to application number 64, 3707 Morgantown Road, property ID 17693. You have 10 minutes on that one.
Right. Same situation, got my assessment. This one, the improvement had gone up 27%. Again, no other house nearby other than my own at 28% had gone up that much. So I went and looked at it further. That's where Mr. Lynch told me that the A- condition increased more than others in the MA 132 neighborhood, giving it a higher value. It's also 4 times over the increase for Albemarle County, average for Albemarle County. Then, when I said I was gonna have to go to the Board of Equalization, they did a reassessment. And instead of going up 28%, it went up 40%. Now, you're basing a lot of this on what, I mean, the county knows my house. I just built the house. They have the plans. Mr. Lynch told me, he said, we went back in and looked at your plans. So we decided yours was a 1.5 story house rather than 2, which increases the value of the square footage because it's a 1.5 story house. So I went from 28% increase to 27% increase to a 40% increase just in asking questions. What that was done, I was told, was based on it being a 1.5 versus a 2 story, and then adding $13,000 for a generator that they just figured out I had. Now, I had to get a permit for that generator 3 years ago, and I installed it, and the permit was for, I believe it was for $6,075 to install it. I came down here, the county who I talked with was an assessor for a different area, told me that they depreciated it from 14 to 13 based on age. Cost me $6,000 put in, so already I'm paying double in terms of taxable assessment on a generator that I bought for half that money. Doesn't make any sense to me. It's only a half house generator too. I have 2 panels. It was wired that way when we built it. One panel are the necessities that the generator takes care of. The other one just go dead when the power goes out. This is gonna get a little, again, we're going into construction quality. Now, I'm an A-1. I can use some of the county's examples of comparables in the area and read what the realtors say as a description of the interior. But basically, they're talking about grade of trim inside. This is the trim. for my house, my $1 million house that I paid $460,000 to build. That's my window casing. This is my floor beams. You can see that if you have to go in the house to see that. The house was inspected every week during construction. Everybody saw how it was being built, and yet they missed the fact that it was a 1.5 story. I can't question the way that you go about your assessments based on the fact that there are inequities based on, differences between what a house sold for and then what it was assessed for later. But all that affects my house, but you're saying I can't even talk about that stuff. So, let me show you one thing here if I can find it. This is your assessor's comp number 6, describing the interior. Bluestone walkway, Douglas fir front door, oversized foyer, chef's kitchen, gorgeous inset cabinets, Aegean marble counters, 36-inch KitchenAid gas range with custom hood, built-in KitchenAid French door refrigerator, 42-inch wood burning fireplace, first floor primary bedroom oasis and spa-like bathroom with frameless glass shower, deep soaking tub, and oversized double vanity. Off the kitchen is an oversized laundry room, gracious mudroom with custom built-ins and stairs that lead to a finished room over the garage. Upstairs offers gorgeous hardwood floors, 3 comfortably sized bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 ensuite, and a loft ideal for work or play. If that's an A-. I'm an A- with this molding, with Samsung appliances from the scratch and dent part of Best Buy, and yet I'm somehow considered by interior fittings to be equal to this other house in your own example. It gets even worse because I found some other A- out there. They're even more fun to look at. This one. This is an A-, and it's, first of all, the county calls this one, I think 1,800 square feet, but the realtor calls it 3,700 square feet. 4 bedrooms to my 3 bedrooms. It has a chef's kitchen anchored by a Le Cornu range, custom brass hood, Sub-Zero refrigerator, quartz countertops, white oak island with farmhouse sink, walk-in pantry, dedicated coffee station, first floor primary suite, freestanding soaking tub, double dramatic home office with floor to ceiling, finished basement is a tour entertainment destination, a professional HD golf simulator with movie theater and multi-sport packages, same system installed in private residence of top professional golfers. Full wet bar, recreation lounge, private bath balcony, unfinished storage space, Lennox HVAC, stacked LG laundry, oversized 2-car garage, wooded walking trails. That's an A- also. Now, my house is only 6 years old. The inspectors who went in my house know what it's built of. You have the plans for my house. Nothing in there has anything to do with these other A- homes. So I think once again, I'm misdescribed. I started this conversation with Mr. Lynch and Mr. Scholl about a house, 3 houses, 4 houses down the road. That when we built our house, that house was $100,000 more valuable than ours when we built it. It quickly escalated to where our house is now worth about double that. I was told that's because that house is a B and ours is an A-, A-1. So I think my condition is considered wrong on that house as well. And here I have it, the A, architectural detail, 9-10 foot cathedral, coppered, vaulted or tray ceilings, built with cabinets, that's the A.
Is that grade or that condition?
That's grade.
Great.
And then the B is trusses, which I have 2x6 trusses, minimal architectural detail, generally open floor between kitchen, dining room, flat 8-foot, 9-foot ceilings, minimal 10-foot ceiling cathedral, some recessed lighting, minimal crown. This is my moldings. I have no crown. Kitchen, standard painted compressed board or oak, that's what I have. This is B, good quality hardware, okay. I picked it out on Amazon. Good quality countertops, yeah. Tile backsplash, some builder grade appliances, that's what I have. I bought scratch and dent Samsung from Best Buy. So I think those are probably builder grade. So I think if you look at the qualifications between E and A, and you compare any other A house in my area, you'll see that I'm more of a B than an A. They shouldn't have to go through it to see that. They were there when the house was being built. And the comparison I first made with Mr. Lynch was to a house just down the street from me, which is probably under owner's comps. It went up, it was a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath house compared to my 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath house. And they show the value of that house now as 728, and mine is now 917,900. Nothing changed on either house. That's a brick exterior house. It's 2-story. Mine's now considered 1.5. That's where my 40% increase came from. Mostly it was because my house is now considered 1.5 floors. So I understand that now my house is being classified as the right type as 1.5 because they did it wrong for the last 5 years. But I question how anything else can be relied on when simple things like that aren't done properly. So how can I go from being worth 100,000 less than a house 4 houses down the street from me, and all of a sudden I'm $400,000 more when neither house has changed? That's what I consider equitable. I know you probably don't, but I'm told a lot of that is the fact that that one's a B and mine's an A minus. So I guess I have to fight for it to be a B, which will lower the assessed value and worse, lower how much it went up from year to year. Because that's the part I don't understand, why a A minus goes up half the rate of an A plus or a B. Why am I in that narrow little area where that happens? So if you go by the assessor's comps and just do the improvements, and you go by cost per square foot, I'm at 292 under their assessment, and I'm using all the other comps. They're all lower except for one where it gets confused because the assessed value is completely different than what it just sold for. So I was unable to find the table of factors for the increase by grade. I came down here and asked for that. And I found while I was doing this and comparing my house to other houses of the same grade level, I came up with one house that sold in 25 for $1.3 million, less than 4 miles from my house. 26 assessment was $1.037 million. So almost 300,000 less in the assessment for the same year it was sold. And then it's currently on the market for $1.3 million. So I don't know how I can put any stock or faith in the tables they're using for assessing the value of my house when they drop $300,000 from a sale price to an assessment on a house that's 4 miles away.
So I think you've used all the time. Anything else that you want to say to wrap up? I think we're at 11.
Well, the questions that always came up to me every time I had a discussion was, would you sell it for that? I don't see how that has any bearing on it at all, but I had both assessors I talked with asking me that same question. But wouldn't you sell it for that? I said, I didn't have any intention of selling it. You can buy the other one down the road that we're questioning the condition of. You can buy that for your assessed value all day long. But I didn't build mine to, I'm 73 years old. I've lived in this area for 50 years. I've been in that other house for 48, I think. And I bought this property that this house is on. I bought that over 40 years ago. I intended to stay here, but at the rate that it's going, and I know this has nothing to do with it, but I will be paying the county in taxes in 2 years, I'll be paying $2,000 a month for living in a house that's completely paid off. I just don't understand that. Why has mine gone up from a $460,000 house to a $900,000 house in 5 years? It just makes no sense. I changed nothing. House down the road, made of brick, didn't go up anywhere near that. So I don't know what equitable is if I can't compare it to another house on the same road.
Thank you. We'll hear from the assessor's office now.
I'm sorry, I need a moment because Mr. Marks throws out so many things. He's kind of a master of hyperbole, and I have a real hard time following it all. And when I try to keep up with it, I just kind of lose track.
Can I suggest you start with the generator?
So our description of the property is accurate as far as we have the ability to confirm with no inspection, with no interior inspection, no immediate outside inspection, just aerial. And I believe our model is appropriate. It works really well across a lot of properties, 50,000 properties in the county. You would expect in any neighborhood that at least half of the properties, that half of the sales that are recent would be assessed below their assessment and half would be assessed above their assessment. I mean, assessed above their sale price and assessed below their sale price. In this case, 6 of the 17 in the neighbor in the market area are assessed above their sale price and 11 are assessed below their sale price. The median is really what mass appraisal is looking at. It's the IAAO standards throughout the country. And other countries that follow these same standards. We do sales studies and we calibrate our model based on those sales. And the median being at 100% is the target. Are you making the adjustments appropriately in that model? And do you need to adjust those adjustments from year to year? Yes. And do things change differently for some houses as others in a specific year? Yes, that will happen. But over time, it's generally appropriate the amount that we assess. And the question is, are we assessing this property appropriately in 2026 for what is there? And, you know, will he sell it for that? I mean, that's half the equation. Will he sell it for that? Will somebody pay him for that at that price is the other half. And you can't have a sale without both sides agreeing to that. So asking a property owner if they would sell for that, I think is a total waste of time, because whether they would or would not it doesn't answer the question. Is it the value that someone would pay him for it is really the question. I think, you know, he mentioned that when we picked this house up when it was new, we would walk through it. I'm assuming that happened. I don't know if there's no note in here that says I walked through the house, but at the time it was picked up by the appraiser, we put an A-2 grade on the property. A-2 has since been consolidated into A-1. So at the time we've been in the house last, most likely, we determined that based on the quality that was seen inside the house, it was an A-2, which is now an A-1. So the best information we have is that the grade is correct. I don't. I'll point out that there is a typo on page 4, where we had at the bottom of this subjects column, we had the original value for this year prior to the increase that was made by correcting the style of the home and adding the generator. And but on the assessor comparable one, we have the correct value. So I noticed this morning that those two did not match, and I didn't know why, but that was the answer to that. I think we're well supported with the information that we have, and I think for the same reason as the last property that, you know, I see no reason to make an adjustment on this.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. You can have up to 3 minutes, strictly enforce that one so we can keep moving on the rebuttal.
Well, just one fact that you brought up, there are 7 on your neighborhood sales, 7 homes that were appraised at less than their selling price, and 4 that were appraised at slightly more. So you said, I think, I don't know what your number was, but it's 7 to 4 in terms of how you base it. You say half should be this way, half should be that way. That's not true according to your own neighborhood sales that you gave me. Plus, you didn't address the fact that you assessed me for $13,000 for a generator that I paid $6,000 for that only does half a house. And I came down here and talked with an assessor for a different market area. And he told me, well, that's based on a whole house. I said, mine's not a whole house. I can show you the receipt, show you whatever you want. You come in my basement and look at my panels if you want. That generator, it's I think 18 kilowatts or 17 kilowatts is not enough to do a whole house. Wasn't intended to be. And yet somehow I'm being taxed on $13,000. So that's one small thing that I know I'm right on that you didn't even add until this year. And I don't know how you miss it when it's actually in the inspection, because it has to be inspected when it was done. So if you need to.
Can you direct your comments to the board?
Sure. If the data that's being used doesn't support the findings that you've come up with on my house, simply because there, as I said, there are 7 houses that were sold and then assessed at lower than what they sold for. And that's what you're basing other stuff on, but not mine somehow. Mine goes up 40% in 1 year. Now, the average you say is a certain amount, I'm double the average. And nobody can explain to me why I'm double the average. I've read you descriptions of 2 houses in the area. One is one of the comparables that actually describes the interior of the houses, from frou-frou stoves and everything to professional golf courses in the basement. I have none of that. I don't have a single built-in shelf in the house. That would have been obvious when in the walkthrough. So if the classification is what's killing me on this, then I say that the classification's on. You want to come through that house and look at it, you're more than welcome to do it. But you already said you had the plans. You looked at the plans, and that's how you made your determination. That it was, first of all, that it wasn't a 1.5 story house. It was or it wasn't a 2-story house. It was a 1.5. So I don't know what to do. This is it's beyond frustrating in what I've had to put up with in terms of I make an inquiry, and then I'm told that my house is double what it was before I made the inquiry. And yet I'm supposed to assume that all the other data that the county has used is accurate when they can't even get the number of floors in my house or the fact that there's a generator back here. Just don't know how.
Okay, can we just, I think I think we get the point. I'd like to deliberate with the board on this, so just to get some clarification. Mr. Lynch, can you provide a little more context for the change from a 2-story to a 1.5 story?
Yes, so Mr. Naughton, can you see what's on the screen? Is it showing through the?
The second, it is not showing through, no.
Okay, I don't know if there's a way to share.
It's in the bottom right beneath.
If it's easier, I don't dispute that classification change. I just don't understand how that data could be inaccurate for 6 years and be used to assess the value of my home.
I'll answer if I'm allowed. So can you see it now?
Yes, I can see it now.
Yeah. All right, so this is the floor plan. This is our sketch, basically, of the upper floor and the first floor of the house. And this is, and basically our definition of a 1.5 story is a house that has a ratio of 1.25 to 1.75 between the second floor and the first floor. So the 2-story would be basically equal second floor and first floor. This is clearly not a 2-story. However, when you look at the photo, and I think this is what originally happened.
Yeah, when I look at the photo, that's exactly what I'm looking at as well. Yeah.
You see, oh, this looks like a 2-story, and that's why it was called a 2-story in the first place. I do also want to add that the building permit back in 2018 was for the improvements was $464,700, and then the value that immediately followed when it was picked up was $466,900, which is, you know, not conclusive, but it's further support that the grade was correct at that time, and therefore would have been correct.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
And also, we don't have a building permit in our system for the generator. That's why we didn't pick it up originally. I don't know if there was a building permit for it in community development that never got into our system, but we were not aware of it until looking at the aerial photography for this review.
Any other questions from the board, or we can deliberate?
One of the owner comps that much of his argument relies on is at 3413 Morgantown Road. And Mr. Lynch, in one of your responses, you say that that property was downgraded to a B in 2022. Can you explain why that happened in 2022 and what caused it to be downgraded to a B?
I will try to do. Let's see if there's some notes.
Because much of Mr. Marx's argument, if you look at comparables, relies on his analysis of that particular property. But if it is a B as opposed to an A minus, that explains a lot.
The notes, and so make sure I have the right property here. This is, if I can see, there we go. 3413 Morgantown Road, correct?
Right, that's the one.
So I have a note in here that it's sold in 2020.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming that based on the information that was available during that sale, that would have caused the determination of the change of grade.
But you don't have any notes describing.
There are no notes in here that say I changed the grade from this to this because of this specific thing. No, that unfortunately our notes aren't that good in some cases.
Because I assume since the grade was changed, it must have been an A minus one prior to 2022.
It could have been well, actually, I might be able to answer that question. Succinctly. This is old grade B. Billy, could you, or Louis, could you look at 2020 and see what it, or 2019 and see what it was? We can check the older databases and see.
Because obviously the base rate per square foot is substantially different between an A minus one and a B.
Right,
And
because it's got the B plus in between also.
yeah, so it's a substantial difference in that base rate.
I have a question for you, Mr. Murray.
Yes, sir.
Just so I'm on the right page here.
+3.
You agree that it's not a two-story,
By their definition, I agree that it's not a two-story.
and it does have a generator,
It does have a generator, half-house generator,
right?
not a whole house.
But they didn't charge you for the generator the last couple of years. They just picked that
Apparently
up.
not, even though I have a permit from the county to install.
So do you want them to go back and charge you some more for the past year?
I mean,
Okay.
if you can do that by, there's all sorts of egregious things.
No, we don't do that, but I'm just,
You don't do it.
It's
Well,
an
if I could
error
just
in your
make a-
favor.
Make a response to what Mr. Friedman is saying. I have the assessed values of the improvements between that house you're discussing now, that is a B, and my house. In 21, that house was 543.9, my house was 488.2. The next year, 22, which is where apparently it's changed, that house went up to 549, my house went up to 561. So in 1 year's time, I passed it in value. Currently, and this is before they reassessed my house, just recently, that house was 728, mine was 834, mine is now 900. Neither one changed, both on the same road, and not, the other point of that is that house is a 3,500 square foot house, mine's a 2,400 square foot house. So it's impossible to understand how all that can happen. That house is 220 per square foot in terms of its assessment, mine is 374 per square foot. Now, is that all the difference between B and A? In which case I would have to say that mine is really a B. I've showed you my moldings, I've read you characterizations of two other A minus houses. I don't understand. I think the facts and the data,
The descriptions that you read us, where did they come from?
they came from
For the other A1
They came
properties?
from the realtor's description of the house.
Not from the county's description.
I thought
County
you said
has a
county.
description that
You
does-
said the county description, but I could tell by what
No,
language was that.
I said it's in the county's, one was from the county's examples that they're using.
The county wouldn't use the word gracious.
No, they wouldn't use
It's
a
smart.
professional driving range in the basement either. But I'm telling you, that's And even the square footage between what the realtor says and what the county says is not correct. But that's a house that was sold for 1,300,000 and then was appraised the same year for 1,000,000. So I'm just trying to point out the inequalities that are out there that are what are put in this database, churned around, and then comes out to value my house. But there's not much basis for those in the first place if they're that far off.
Well, on all the sales in that neighborhood, you're quoting that there's 7 below average and 4 above.
I think that's in the sales in the
Neighborhood
market
sales,
area.
yeah, there was 17 sales. I mean, so they got it pretty darn close.
Yeah.
0.9974%. One would be perfect. And the fact that there's less below the average than more and more above, I mean, more below the average and less above kind of means, if anything,
It should benefit me, should.
if anything, they were under assessed a little bit, just like.
That by itself is actually like a feature, not a bug, because they're setting it at the first of the year and prices rise throughout the year. Like, what I find difficult, not just with this application, but others, is when the applicants take the view that the model doesn't work at all, and it's inexplicable how their property could be valued here. When, all of the sort of collected data shows that the model works very well and is properly calibrated.
Did you learn anything about
We did, so it was a
grade?
it was a B+2 originally, or actually it's a B+3, which was consolidated down to a B+2 after the sale was changed to a.
What year was that?
But you don't have any descriptions or reasons it was downgraded?
No, we don't have the reasons. The note is the only thing. The note saying that there was a sale for a certain amount is the only thing.
But you don't have that there was an inspection of the property or anything like that? It
No.
was.
I don't.
Would you have possibly used the realtor's description for the sale to?
Yes, we definitely look at the listing of the property when it sells to determine if our description is correct. Plus, we visit the property to see if there's any information we can get.
The 2020 sales from COVID.
The 2020 sale, yes, 2020, yes. So there's unlikely would have gone to the house in 2020, but we would have looked at the MLS.
Because of COVID?
Because of COVID, yeah, we weren't even going in the field in 2020.
So if Mr. Marks wants to have the grade reevaluated, he's gonna have to let you come in, not for this year, but in the future, he's gonna have to let you come in the house.
That's correct. But I just want to make one more point. The size does not determine the grade. You could have a 5,000 square foot C house, and you can have a 2,000 or 1,500 square foot A+ house. It's all about the quality that's put into it.
But to that point, if I may, the size doesn't have anything to do
The
with-
period for rebuttal is complete. We've had more than the share of time that we typically would allocate. Are there any other questions or more deliberation? No.
I move we affirm the assessment as county has it.
Right. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Mr. Naughton, I think you might have been muted. Would you cast your vote, please, sir?
My vote is aye. I'm in agreement.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously and the assessor's office is affirmed with respect to property ID 17693, application number 64. Thank you for your presentations.
Also, we don't have an answer on the value generated.
It's not within our purview to answer that type of question.
When I came down here to visit, they told me they valued it as $13,000. That was an appreciated amount.
I understand you.
So that's the answer.
Yeah.
You don't like the answer, I get it.
That was on the whole house. I don't have a whole house.
Again, let them in, do your stuff. You didn't bring us any information, wouldn't let them go in. So you can only do so much with what was doing.
All right, we're done.
We're done.
Anything, any other additional matters for today? I see that the hearing number 7 is canceled. Or no hearing scheduled.
So I just wanted, I mentioned this before the meeting, just to you, but just so all of the board members are aware, they made a change. They made a correction to the amount that you're getting paid per meeting by a couple dollars. It was supposed to change last year, but and I'm only telling you, I know you're really excited about this $3, but because you might be getting a check for like $15, $18, $21, something like that, depending on how many meetings you were in the last fiscal year, starting from June back.
So instead of $1 an hour, we're now making $1.10 an hour.
Exactly.
So I can retire now.
In case you get a very small check and you're like, what is this thing? Is it a mistake or whatever? I just want to let you know that correction was just made.
I just want to thank you all for the $1.10 an hour that you've been doing this. I appreciate your effort in trying to come up with some equitable solution. I will work towards the next year of maybe having Mr. Lynch's office come into my houses to look at them, but I don't know how the estimate was made in the first place if they didn't, but that's a different matter. All right.
Thank you.
All right, then I guess I have to deal with your office again, or the tax office, as to, you gave me an increase of 40% increase, and you sent me a new appraisal the county never has.
Yeah, they'll send a supplemental bill for that.
Wonderful.
So this is your last meeting that we currently have set. As Mr. Friedman pointed out, you can cancel or take off your calendar the remaining reassessment. The ones for this week and the one for August. You're not going to meet for those because all of the appeals based on reassessment are done. If we get any appeals based on supplemental assessments, which could happen, rarely does, but it could, we'll use one of the September, October, November, or December meetings for that. So, but otherwise, I have nothing else for you, Mr. Mayo.
Okay.
Are you gonna send, so you don't send a meeting item until it's actually scheduled? Is that correct?
That is correct for the supplementals.
Okay. So we'll just grade it out for now, and then you'll send something if there is a meeting.
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
we'll hope there aren't any.
Okay.
Just so I'm clear, I need to hold the meetings from August on. Or
The meetings from
September.
September. Okay, yeah.
Which dates could we release?
July and August. July, this Thursday and Friday, the 16th and 17th, I think. And then August 20th, I believe is the date. Correct.
Okay. Perfect.
And I would like to thank you on behalf of the county for your service on the board.
Yes, thank you for, your office does an excellent job of being organized and having everything ready for us. Really makes it a lot easier to participate.
Did anybody do John? Done stuff.
What's that? Oh, no, you haven't done
Did
that.
somebody do that?
No, we're still,
Wanted that on.
I was still doing extra or whatever you call additional.
Was it on the record comment? Okay, well.
Good if we adjourn. Adjourn.
Yeah, there you go. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, all
Unless you want
opposed,
to say something else.
not on the record.
Okay, so, I'm going to stop recording.
So we're adjourned at 3:49.
Billy, look here.